We turn now to Texas, where controversial Christian television CEO Marcus Lamb has died after his battle with COVID-19.
What happens when a company lists people on its board who have been dead for years? Daystar, the Christian television network connected to Joni Lamb, has faced questions over its corporate records, leadership, and millions of dollars moving through related entities. Records reportedly listed deceased members of the Lamb family on the board, while the company was connected to more than $1.3 million in loans involving the families of two Daystar leaders. Was this simply a serious mistake or something much deeper? Join us as we reveal the details. Joni Lamb's Daystar named dead people as board members. A new question is now being raised about Daystar and one of its related companies, WPXS Inc. The question comes from a 2024 company filing made in Texas. What makes the filing unusual is that 3 people connected to the company were listed, even though all 3 had already died. Marcus Lamb was listed as the registered agent of WPXS Inc. Marcus Lamb died on November 30, 2021. That means he had been dead for more than 2 years when the 2024 filing was made.
Marcus Lamb, a broadcaster reaching hundreds of millions of people around the world and who vocally opposed the COVID-19 vaccine, died after battling the virus.
His parents, Jimmy Lamb and Corinne Lamb, were also listed as members of the board. Jimmy Lamb reportedly died in 2010, while Corinne Lamb reportedly died in 2012. So by the time of the 2024 filing, one of the people listed had been dead for about 3 years, while the other 2 had been dead for more than a decade. This immediately raises a simple question. How could 3 people who were no longer alive still appear on an official company filing? There are different possible answers. One answer could be simple carelessness. Someone may have taken an old company record, copied the names into a new form, and failed to check whether the people were still alive. Mistakes like this can happen when records are not properly checked, but the problem becomes harder to explain when more than one person is involved. In this case, the 3 people were not all recently deceased. Jimmy Lamb had reportedly been dead since 2010. Corinne Lamb had reportedly been dead since 2012. Marcus Lamb had been dead since 2021. The filing was made in 2024. That means the company had many years in which these records could have been corrected. The filing was reportedly signed by David A. Schuler, a CPA connected to Daystar. A CPA is a professional who deals with financial records and documents. The fact that a professional reportedly signed the filing makes the situation more serious because it raises questions about whether the information was properly checked before it was submitted. There are also questions about the board itself. A company needs people who are actually alive and able to take part in decisions. Board members can have important duties. They may review company decisions, oversee money, approve major actions, and provide checks on the people running the organization. If people who have died are still being shown as board members, it becomes difficult for outsiders to know who is really making decisions. It also raises a bigger question about who was actually in control of WPXS Inc. The situation became even more interesting because another filing was reportedly made in 2025. That filing removed Marcus Lamb as the registered agent and replaced him with Arnold Torres, who is identified as Daystar's chief financial officer. This shows that at least one part of the company's records was later changed. However, the concern remains because the reported board names were not replaced in that update. If the names of the 3 deceased people were still being used, then people looking at the company's public records could still have difficulty knowing who the real board members were. It is important to be careful here. The appearance of dead people on a company filing does not, by itself, prove fraud or criminal activity. It could be the result of a serious mistake. It could also show that company records were not properly maintained. But it is unusual enough to deserve questions. The most important question is not simply why dead people appeared on a document. The bigger question is whether the company had proper leadership and oversight at the time. That question matters even more because WPXS Inc. was reportedly involved in large financial transactions. The company is connected to Daystar, and its activities therefore deserve careful attention. When a company has millions of dollars moving through it, people naturally want to know who controls the money, who approves the transactions, and who is responsible for making sure everything is done properly. A company record should help answer ththose questions. In this case, the reported filing appears to create more questions than answers. The situation has therefore become part of a wider discussion about Daystar's business structure, its related companies, and the level of public information available about those companies. But if these dead names were still being used on official company records, the bigger question is this: what else was happening behind the scenes at WPXS Inc., especially when millions of dollars were moving through the same company? Stay tuned for more. The money, the loans, and the questions. The questions surrounding WPXS Inc. do not stop with the names of the people listed on its board. Another major issue involves money. WPXS Inc. has been connected to reported loans worth about $1.33 million. One reported loan was about $550,000 and was connected to Rachel Brown's family. Another was about $780,000 and was connected to Rebecca Weiss's family. Together, the two reported amounts come to about $1.33 million. These loans are important because of the relationship between the people receiving the money and the wider Daystar leadership structure. A loan to a family member is not automatically illegal. There can be many reasons why a company may lend money to someone. The concern comes from the bigger picture. Questions are being raised about why a Daystar-related company was involved in such large loans, who approved them, what the terms were, how the money was expected to be repaid, and whether the transactions were properly recorded and overseen. Another issue is the amount of financial information available to the public. WPXS Inc. reportedly does not file a Form 990. A Form 990 helps the public understand a nonprofit's finances and activities. Because WPXS Inc. does not file one, less information may be available for public review. This does not automatically mean wrongdoing, as organizations can have different tax and reporting rules. Still, when a company is connected to a religious organization and involved in large financial transactions, the limited information can naturally raise questions. WPXS Inc. is also described as being part of a much larger network of companies and organizations connected to Daystar and Word of God Fellowship. Names that have been discussed include Davis and Hudson LLC, WOGF LLC, WPXS Inc., and Y Ranch LLC. When several companies are connected to one larger organization, understanding the movement of money can become difficult. Money may move from one company to another, and the public may not always be able to easily see where it goes or who controls it. This is why company structure matters. The more complicated the structure becomes, the more important good records and clear oversight become. There are also claims concerning Daystar's use of life insurance investments. The Trinity Foundation has reportedly raised questions about Daystar's involvement in life insurance policies used as investments. It has also suggested that profits from such investments may have been connected to the purchase of a Gulfstream G5 private jet. These are serious claims, but they should be treated as allegations unless supported by clear financial records or confirmed findings. They should not automatically be treated as proven facts. Taken together, the different issues create a larger question about accountability. Who controls the companies connected to Daystar? Who sits on their boards? Who approves large loans? How are family-related transactions handled? How does money move between the different companies? And how can donors know what happens to money after they give it? These questions are especially important for people who support religious organizations with their money. Donors have a right to ask basic questions before giving. They can ask who is on the board, whether board members are independent, whether family members receive loans or other benefits, and whether the organization has related companies. They can also ask whether those companies provide enough information for the public to understand their activities. The reported appearance of deceased people on a 2024 corporate filing does not prove that Daystar or WPXS Inc. committed a crime. It does, however, raise a clear concern about record-keeping and governance. When that concern is placed beside reported loans of about $1.33 million, limited public financial information, and a complicated network of related organizations, the need for clear answers becomes even stronger. The real issue is therefore not simply 3 names on one document. It is whether the people responsible for managing these organizations have created a system that is clear, properly supervised, and accountable to the people who support the ministry. If the future of Daystar was carefully planned before Joni Lamb's death, what happened behind the scenes that caused some members of the family to step away from the ministry? Let's delve deeper. Daystar after Joni Lamb.
Tonight, the founder of North Texas-based Daystar television network has died. The network shared on social media that Joni Lamb passed away this morning. It says she experienced serious health problems that were only made worse by recent back injuries.
After the death of Joni Lamb, many people began watching Daystar television network more closely. The biggest question was simple: who would lead Daystar now? Before her death, Daystar said Joni had already worked with the board to prepare a leadership team. The goal was to make sure the ministry could continue even after she was gone. Daystar also said that its mission had not changed. Its regular programs would continue, and the network would keep serving its viewers. This meant the organization had a plan for the period after Joni's death. Some of the people now holding important positions are familiar names. Rachel Lamb Brown is listed as the Director of Communications. Her husband, Joshua Brown, is listed as the Director of Business Development. Ronald Torres is listed as the Chief Financial Officer. Jonathan Weiss is listed as the Director of Information Technology. These people now form an important part of the team connected to the daily running of Daystar. Rachel and Joshua are especially notable because of their close connection to the Lamb family. Their positions could also give them an important role in the future of the network. But while some names appear on the leadership list, another family name is missing. That name is Rebecca Lamb Weiss, Joni Lamb's other daughter. Rebecca is not included among the reported members of the current executive team. Her absence has raised questions because she has been closely connected to the Lamb family and Daystar for many years. People are naturally interested in why some family members remain close to the organization, while others are no longer part of the main leadership structure. Daystar's rules also give some clues about the current situation. The organization is reported to have rules allowing between 3 and 5 executive board members. At the moment, 4 people are being identified as part of the main leadership group. This suggests that Daystar has enough people in place to continue its work while waiting for a permanent leader. But one major question remains unanswered. Who will officially replace Joni Lamb? Daystar reportedly said that a successor would be announced within a few weeks. Until that happens, the current leadership team is expected to keep the network running. This planned transition is important because it shows that Joni had thought about what would happen after her death. According to Daystar, she did not leave the organization without preparation. She worked with the board to make sure there was a team ready to continue the ministry. The network also continued its regular programming after her death. Tributes were expected to follow as people remembered her life and work. For now, Daystar appears to be focused on keeping things stable. The network has not stopped. Its programs continue, its staff remain at work, and the leadership team is carrying on with the ministry. But behind this smooth transition are deeper questions about the Lamb family and the people who may have been expected to lead Daystar in the future. One of the biggest names connected to these questions is Joni's son, Jonathan Lamb. He was once seen as a possible future leader at Daystar, but his relationship with the organization later changed.
Here is Jonathan Lamb as a little boy, pictured here with a plaque that says, Future Daystar President. These were the wishes of his father, the founder of Daystar TV, Marcus Lamb.
Jonathan and his wife, Susie, eventually left after serious disagreements over religious beliefs and family matters. Their decision became a major part of the Lamb family story, despite the personal and financial costs. Their disagreement was linked, in part, to Joni Lamb's personal relationship with Doug. They reportedly did not agree with the way the relationship was viewed or presented. They believed that accepting it would go against their understanding of the Bible. Because of this, they chose to separate themselves from Daystar. Their decision reportedly created a serious break between Jonathan and members of his family. It also affected their relationship with people within the wider Christian community. Still, Jonathan and Susie continued to speak about their beliefs. After Joni's death, Jonathan shared a picture of himself with his mother on social media, while Susie also shared a message about Joni's passing. These actions showed that despite the disagreements, her death remained a deeply personal event for them. Their story has also become part of a wider discussion about spiritual and religious control. The concern is that some religious leaders may use their position to control people and make them feel that they cannot have a direct relationship with God without the leader. The message being presented is that no human leader should take the place of Jesus Christ. For now, Daystar's future remains uncertain. The current leadership team is keeping the network moving, but the final decision about who will take the top position could change the direction of the organization. If the dead names on Daystar's records were already surprising, what other details from the network's past could reveal an even bigger story? Keep watching for more. Another surprise hidden in Daystar's past. In 2011, Daystar Television Network faced several lawsuits from former workers. The cases included claims of harassment, unfair treatment, wrongful firing, discrimination, and damage to the workers' names. Daystar denied the claims and later filed a lawsuit of its own against the women involved. What makes the story important is that some of the people connected to the cases were also close to Daystar's leadership and family. However, one fact must be made clear. No court ever decided that the accusations were true or false. The cases were later dropped, and Daystar also dropped its own lawsuit.
In February of 2011, a former Daystar Television Network employee named Jennifer Falcon filed a federal lawsuit in the United States District Court in Dallas.
The first major case came in February 2011. A former Daystar employee named Jennifer Falcon filed a lawsuit in a federal court in Dallas. She had worked for the network for 9 years. Her case named Bill Trammell, who was described as a Daystar manager and also as the father of Joni Lamb. Falcon said Trammell called her into his office for what he called quiet time. She claimed that he behaved inappropriately during these meetings. She said he asked her to sit on his lap more than once. She also claimed that he held her in long hugs and moved his hands close to private parts of her body. Falcon further said he made personal and sexual comments to her. She claimed that he told her he wanted to be a husband to her until she found one of her own. Falcon also accused Daystar of discrimination, defamation, slander, and libel. She said her treatment at work changed after the situation became known. According to her lawsuit, Joni Lamb and Trammell's wife learned about the contact in December 2009. Falcon said she was demoted the next day. About 2 months later, her pay was reduced. She pointed out that she had recently received a very good work review. On February 11, 2010, she was fired after 9 years at the network. Falcon also claimed that Trammell later received a pay increase and was not punished. These were allegations, not court findings. Daystar strongly denied them. The network said Falcon had also signed an agreement when she left the company. Daystar argued that the agreement limited her ability to bring certain claims. Falcon disagreed. She said she was under great emotional pressure and did not fully understand what she had signed. Her case was soon followed by another lawsuit. In March 2011, former Daystar producer Karen Thompson also sued the network. Thompson had worked on Joni Lamb's program since 2002. She claimed she was treated unfairly and fired because of a relationship with a male co-worker. She said the relationship did not break Daystar's rules. Thompson also claimed the network damaged her reputation. Daystar rejected her claims. The network then filed a countersuit against Thompson, Falcon, and another former worker named Hawkins. Daystar accused the 3 women of trying to harm its reputation and business. In October 2011, a Dallas court dismissed a fraud claim linked to Hawkins's case. Later, the remaining claims were withdrawn, and Daystar dropped its countersuit. According to Daystar's administrator at the time, no money was paid to the women or their lawyers. No money was reportedly paid to Daystar either. So, the cases ended without a clear winner. There was no trial that decided who was telling the truth. The record only shows what was claimed, what Daystar denied, and how the cases ended. What do you think about the surprises unfolding within Daystar? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. If the surprising story of Daystar, its past lawsuits, and the unanswered questions surrounding its leadership caught your attention, please like, subscribe, and watch the next video for more shocking stories. See you there.